You won't believe what transpired inside this courtroom. A once powerful judge, once deemed untouchable, demeaned a seasoned attorney in open court, but just minutes later the tables turned dramatically, leaving him in handcuffs. What led to this astonishing moment will render you speechless. Michael Turner was no stranger to high-pressure battles. Before emerging as a prominent political figure, he had spent years fighting for justice in the courtroom. First as a criminal defense attorney advocating for those without a voice, and later as a determined champion in politics. Yet nothing had prepared him for what he was about to confront today. The courtroom he entered that morning belonged to Judge Marcus Bennett, a man notorious for his sharp tongue, erratic rulings, and subtle bias. The case he presented was not merely another file. It was a powder keg, a high-profile corruption matter involving a wealthy real estate developer with deep connections to influential political circles. The charges were damning, accusing the siphoning of state funds into private ventures, and Michael had been designated as the special prosecutor to expose the truth. But even before he could utter a word, the atmosphere became hostile. Judge Bennett barely acknowledged Michael as he approached the prosecution table, slowly leafing through a file, deliberately allowing silence to settle, a silence that carried its own weight. When he finally spoke, his words dripped with disdain. "Mr. Turner, I trust you've brought something substantial, or shall we skip to the part where you waste my time with your theatrics?" he said. A few chuckles arose from the back, mostly from the defense team. Yet Michael, steadfast, stood tall. "Your Honor, the evidence speaks for itself. This case involves the misappropriation of taxpayer funds. My duty is to present the facts clearly and accurately." Judge Bennett leaned back, feigning disinterest. "Taxpayer funds, huh? That's never been the basis for unfounded accusations before, correct?" Michael's jaw tightened, but he maintained his calm tone. "With all due respect, Your Honor, I would not call charges of corruption and fraud unfounded." Their eyes locked, his cold and calculating, Michael's steady and unwavering. But before he could continue, Judge Bennett interrupted again. "Mr. Turner, spare me the lectures. Get to the point. I do not have time to indulge your progressive fantasies." A few murmurs rippled through the gallery. Something was amiss, and everyone could sense it. This wasn't merely a judge being strict. It felt personal. Michael remained composed, picked up a folder, and opened it. "Your Honor, I would like to direct the court's attention to Exhibit A. These financial records clearly demonstrate." "Do you always bury people in paperwork, Mr. Turner?" Judge Bennett snapped. "Or is this merely your method of compensating for a lack of genuine arguments?" The room tensed. The defense attorney smirked once more, yet Michael did not flinch. He paused briefly, then set the folder aside and clasped his hands. "Your Honor," he said calmly, "if you prefer to keep this personal, I am prepared to request a recess to address any professional concerns you might have." It was a subtle pushback, courteous yet firm, a quiet signal that he would not be intimidated. Judge Bennett smirked. "Oh, I have no concerns, Mr. Turner. I simply see a weak case before me." At that, the gallery truly reacted. Gasps, whispers, raised eyebrows. Judges were expected to remain impartial, but this was overt. Michael did not raise his voice. He simply pressed on. "Then I suppose we should let the evidence speak for itself," he stated as he presented his next document. Financial data showing clear discrepancies in project funding. But once again, Judge Bennett interrupted. "I hate to interrupt your presentation, truly I do. But I think we've seen enough numbers for one day, Your Honor," he declared. "These numbers are the foundation of the case," Michael replied. "Sure," Bennett scoffed. "And yet, I see nothing that justifies wasting this court's time." It was apparent he wasn't merely dismissive. He was intent on quashing the case before it began. Michael then reached for the next page in his file. "Your Honor, I'd like to submit a motion." Denied. Michael looked up, surprised. "I haven't even stated the motion, and yet I already know it's destined to go nowhere." The tension in the room reached a boiling point. People were no longer simply observing. They were feeling it. Something was wrong, and Michael sensed it. Judge Bennett. Indeed, he wasn't just hostile. He was shielding something, and Michael knew it. Then let us proceed, Michael declared. He projected a document, a contract between the developer and the city planning department. But then the twist came. He displayed another document on the screen, an internal ledger revealing that the developer received nearly double the approved budget, followed by a third document, a signature, that of Judge Bennett. The courtroom gasped. Michael turned to the judge calmly. Your Honor, would you care to explain why your signature appears on an unauthorized financial transaction involving the defendant? For the first time, Judge Bennett did not respond. His face turned unreadable. That document is inadmissible, he stated quietly. How so? Michael inquired. It was obtained improperly, Your Honor. It was subpoenaed by my office, and then mishandled. It shall not be considered. But the damage was done. Everyone in the room had seen it. The jury, the bailiff, the reporters. No one could unsee what had just transpired. Michael did not stop. This is a public hearing. The media is here. Everyone just witnessed you dismiss key evidence without proper justification. That's enough, Mr. Turner, Judge Bennett snapped. Yet Michael was not finished. He calmly reached into his briefcase, retrieved a small recorder, and pressed play. A voice resonated throughout the courtroom. Take care of it. I don't care how. Ensure she doesn't get her hands on those ledgers. The silence was suffocating. Everyone recognized the voice. It was Judge Bennett's. Michael let it play, then said softly, The real question is, who were you speaking with, Your Honor? Judge Bennett exploded in anger, but it was too late. Michael slid another document forward, a transcript of a wiretap that matched the recording word for word. He turned to Officer Reynolds. Would you please read the highlighted section? The words struck like thunder. We'll take care of him. Not Turner. If he produces anything solid, I'll ensure it never sees a courtroom. The courtroom erupted. Judge Bennett attempted to regain control. This hearing is over. But Michael stood firm. I wasn't seeking your permission. Then he gave a small nod as a door opened and firm footsteps echoed. Judge Marcus Bennett, you are under arrest. Gasps erupted, cameras flashed, reporters scrambled. 2 officers approached the bench, and handcuffs gleamed in the light. Judge Bennett tried to protest, but his words fell hollow. Now, for the first time in his career, Judge Bennett sat frozen, powerless, as the cuffs clicked shut. Michael remained seated, his expression unreadable. This wasn't triumph, it was justice. As Judge Bennett was escorted out, the developer, David Lawson, panicked. Wait, we can work something out. Michael stepped closer, calm and steady. You seem nervous, Mr. Lawson. Why might that be? He asked. Lawson stammered. You don't seriously think Bennett is guilty, do you? Michael paused, then replied, Do you? The courtroom had transformed. The corruption was exposed, yet the trial was not over. Michael turned to the now empty presiding judge's seat. To whoever takes over this case, I'd like to submit additional evidence. Because if we've uncovered this, there's more, he stated. He looked at Lawson once more. So I'll ask again, do you want to talk? Lawson exhaled, his defenses crumbling. If I do, I require protection. Michael nodded. Then you'd better start talking. And with that, the real reckoning began. No one is above the law.